Direct from our newsroom in New York, in color, this is the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite and Robert Pierpoint in Washington, David Dick in Washington, Robert Shackney in New Haven, Bob Simon in New Haven, Jed Duval in Santa Barbara, California, John Hart in Washington, and Richard C. Hotlet in Baghdad, Iraq.
Good evening. President Nixon has proposed a series of steps to combat the soaring crime rate in the nation's capital. Washington's police blotters of today lent urgency to his call for action. Within 1 half-hour period, shortly before he spoke, 2 banks were robbed, raising the total to 19 this month. And last midnight, within 10 blocks of the White House, a shooting occurred in the presence of 3 senators, a representative, and a top Nixon aide, Herbert Klein. They were leaving the exclusive Soulgrave Club on Massachusetts Avenue when they heard gunfire and went to the aid of the victim, Thomas Dunleavy. Dunleavy, a former Philadelphia policeman in training as a Treasury agent, suffered shotgun wounds of the leg in a scuffle with a man who tried to rob him. The man escaped. Mr. Nixon conceded he had no magic formula to end crime, but he said a start must be made. Robert Pierpoint reports.
The president declared that for many who live in Washington, conditions have become intolerable. He spoke of raw, vicious violence that has brought a crime crisis requiring action on a broad front. Therefore, Mr. Nixon ordered immediate steps to make justice swifter and more certain. These include 1,000 more police, making Washington's the largest police force in the nation on a per capita basis, 10 more judges, 40 more prosecutors, and better courthouse and penal facilities. In addition, President Nixon wants to introduce a controversial new bail bond system under which those charged with crimes can be held in temporary pretrial detention if there appears to be a real danger that they would simply commit more crimes if allowed out on bail. But the president also makes the point that crime hurts most of all those who are poor and work hard, and is, he adds, the surface manifestation of far deeper troubles. In part, declares President Nixon, Washington today is reaping a whirlwind sown long since by rural poverty in the South, by failures in education, by racial prejudice, and by the sometimes explosive strains of rapid social readjustments. Therefore, he calls for a federally financed program of rehabilitation of Washington's worst ghetto areas, particularly those hit hardest by last year's riots. This 7th Street district was a riot center last year, but just 2 days ago, the federal government decided to turn it into a vest pocket park. Mayor Walter Washington and HUD Secretary George Romney were scheduled to make the formal dedication this morning when a last-minute guest arrived.
I was determined that we have action immediately on this problem, something that would be more than usually the promises and symbolism, and I'm glad we're starting today.
President Nixon clearly believes in a two-front war on crime, social rehabilitation as well as tougher law enforcement. All this will cost more money than is in the present federal budget. It's unsure yet how much more. But the increase at least postpones a Republican campaign promise to cut the budget. Robert Pierpoint, CBS News, Washington.
Mr. Nixon also proposed that residents of the Capitol be given a voting member of Congress. We'll have a detailed report on crime in Washington later in this broadcast.
That's Andy Granatelli, driving force behind racing's revolutionary STP turbine cars. He's just challenged undefeated Rocky Marciano to a test of strength.
Come on. You're no weakling.
Oh, yeah?
You're strong, Andy, but it's going to be all over.
Wow.
Now I know why they call you the Rock. This time, I'll choose the weapons. Put her there, pal.
Is Marciano stronger than regular motor oil?
Hang on, Rock.
Nothing to it.
I know. Now try it with STP oil treatment.
Andy won't want to lose this one. He's president of STP.
Lubricates better than motor oil alone. Best way I know to fight friction and wear. You can't win them all, champ.
Now you know why most race drivers prefer to have STP on their side. Have your gasoline station add STP to your oil and keep your family car, old or new, running smoother, cooler, quieter, longer.
STP is the racer's edge.
President Nixon's activities today also included a visit to the Pentagon and a speech to military and civilian leaders there. David Dick reports.
It was President Nixon's second visit to the Pentagon this week, only one day after he sent over the word to Defense Secretary Laird that he wants a special commission set up to plan the end of the draft. Laird and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Wheeler, came out front for the traditional welcome. After a briefing with the Joint Chiefs, the president said he'd be depending upon the military for advice.
There are differences within the State Department as to what our policy should be. There are differences within the Defense Department, although it's very hard to get General Wheeler to tell me what they are. But on the other hand, while those differences do exist, I believe that we are all working together toward the same end. I want to hear those differences expressed. I will then have to make the decision, a decision that only the President of the United States can make in determining what our policy will be. But only if I hear from the Defense Department and from within the department the differences that may be there, and from the State Department and any other interested departments of government, what their views are on the great problems that confront this nation at home and abroad. Only if I hear that can I make the kind of decision that's going to be the best decision.
Tomorrow morning, the president will be asking for opinions when he meets with the National Security Council at the White House. The subject will be the Middle East, a subject which the president discussed late today with Senator Jacob Javits. He said he expects new initiatives. David Dick, CBS News, Washington.
In Vietnam, an Allied force of 2,500 men has been airlifted into the jungle, 85 miles southwest of Saigon, hoping to trap an estimated 1,500 enemy troops. Initial resistance was light. Meanwhile, U.S. air cavalrymen operating near the Cambodian border reported seizing the largest North Vietnamese base found in the war, covering 4 square miles. It includes hundreds of bunkers, an underground hospital, dining halls, and a command post. U.S. officers said it could accommodate at least 5,000 men, but the cavalrymen encountered only a handful of enemy soldiers. The complex is so big, it's going to take several weeks to destroy it. South Vietnam claimed today that an accelerated pacification program carried out in 3 months has brought 1,200,000 more peasants under government control. Prime Minister Tran Van Huang said the program covered 1,200 villages which formerly had been insecure. He also said that in 1969, the government hopes to extend its control to 90% of South Vietnam's 17.5 million people. The percentage now is put at 76%.
Many times when you're having fun, a headache starts and grows until your joy is a thing of the past. That's when Bayer works wonders. Bayer aspirin is 100% aspirin, and aspirin is the strongest pain-relieving ingredient you can buy. Bayer works wonders.
When you have acid indigestion, every second counts. So count on instant-acting Phillips tablets. Phillips tablets go to work in seconds. With one of the fastest stomach settlers ever discovered, each small Phillips tablet neutralizes more excess stomach acid than the leading antacid tablet that comes in a roll. So for fast relief from acid-upset stomach, when every second counts, count on instant-acting Phillips tablets.
Adnan Fachachi, who recently resigned as Iraq's UN ambassador, said today that Baghdad acted unwisely in putting on public display those 14 alleged spies executed earlier this week. Fachachi said the method of the hangings gave Israel what he called a great propaganda edge over the Arabs. This evening, we have official Iraqi film shot in Baghdad on the day of the executions. Now, this film did not show the victims, but you will see the outpouring of support for the hangings. CBS News correspondent Richard C. Hotelet, now in Baghdad, narrates.
The propaganda organs of the regime rallied tens of thousands of people for a massive outpouring of political support. Baghdad radio called it the day of real victory over spies and traitors, and the masses chanted the slogans for liquidation of all Zionist and imperialist spy networks. The storm of protest this spectacle evoked around the world apparently took the government aback. Its position is that the men were found guilty by a court, that there were Christians and Muslims among them as well as Jews, and that the public display was meant as a warning to others. The regime says it is unjustly criticized, and it continues to respond defiantly promising to liquidate all espionage rings still operating and to overcome any acts of sabotage. Richard C. Hottelet, CBS News, Baghdad.
It was not all Yves de Gaulle today as the French president began a tour of Brittany. That province has a strong separatist movement, and de Gaulle got a mixed reception, including shouts of "Liberate Brittany" when he arrived in the city of Rennes. At one point, while he was inside the town hall, pro and anti-Gaullists outside got into a brawl, but police moved in quickly and they separated the two groups. The Senate leadership agreed today to permit debate and a recorded vote on the $12,500 congressional pay increases, which are to take effect automatically unless vetoed by Congress. However, Delaware Republican John Williams, who forced the issue, concedes that his chances of blocking the pay boost are slim. There's now a law which forbids the Federal Trade Commission from taking any action to limit cigarette advertising. The law expires soon, but there will be an attempt to extend it. Today, Utah's Democratic Senator Frank Moss said he would conduct a filibuster if necessary to block extension of the law. Meanwhile, Moss called on the tobacco industry to voluntarily quit advertising on radio and television. Prices advanced today on the New York Stock Exchange. The volume was 12 million shares, and the exchange index gained some 19 cents.
You don't see many wild stallions anymore. No, you don't see many wild stallions anymore. And even if he did run off 3 of your best mares, he's one of the last of a wild and very singular breed. Come to where the flavor is. Come to Marlboro country.
The Navy said today a preliminary investigation was unable to determine why the nuclear-powered submarine Scorpion with 99 men aboard went to the bottom of the mid-Atlantic last May. However, the 11-week study found no evidence of sabotage, foul play, collision with another ship, sub or undersea mountain, or trouble with the Scorpion's atomic power plant. A deep-diving research vehicle now will be sent to take close-up photographs of the wreckage south of the Azores in water almost 2 miles deep. The Navy surface ship that located the wreckage last October took thousands of pictures from cameras lowered on cables. One shows the Scorpion's bow section, but experts say it gives no indication what happened. Another shows detail on the aft section of the ship, including a loose mooring rope, a twisted exhaust pipe, and several hatches. Well, it scarcely is anything to make light of, but the nation today rang up its first double hijacked stewardess. She's Donna Goldner of Pompano Beach, Florida, of National Airlines. She was on a hijacked plane last March, and again today when National San Francisco-Miami flight was diverted to Cuba. There were 63 persons aboard. It was the 11th plane hijacked to Havana this month. Also along today was a Federal Aviation Agency inspector checking crew operations. He got a little more than he bargained for. Programs of ROTC, Reserve Officers Training Corps, are taught on campuses across the country, but at Yale University, the military courses have run into trouble. Robert Shackney reports.
The tradition of military service at Yale University dates back to the Revolutionary War, and the country's first ROTC program to be established anywhere was set up on this campus in 1916 for the systematic training of military officers. Today, the ROTC program at Yale is in trouble. The faculty has voted to drop ROTC courses as courses given for academic credit. Professor Arthur Galston, the chairman of the Faculty Committee on Courses.
I think this would merely be a recognition of what is already a truth, that ROTC is not an educational institution and Yale is not a military institution. ROTC is here as an extracurricular activity. Students may seek it out, may enjoy it, may profit by it in the sense that they can seek out a singing group, a football team, or the Yale Daily News as an extracurricular activity. If it pleases them, they will go to it.
Yale is not the only campus where ROTC is under attack, but no other school has yet totally to discredit the program. ROTC commanders here are distressed.
Does it really make any difference in turning out an Army officer whether or not that man has gotten credit for his college degree in military training?
Well, that probably not as a matter of credit in respect to his education. However, the argument here is one of whether or not the course deserves credit. And in our opinion, it does.
Do you think that Navy ROTC will be able to survive at Yale?
The Navy's going to have to take a good and hard look at it. We don't know at the moment.
ROTC enrollment had been steadily declining at Yale, with only 173 students now participating. Left-wing opposition and the climate of the times is given as the reason for change. It's too early to tell whether the faculty decision will necessarily mean the disappearance of ROTC from Yale. But certainly that decision means that the future of ROTC is in doubt. Robert Shackney, CBS News at Yale University, New Haven, Connecticut.
Health, Education, and Welfare Secretary Finch said today there will be no special concessions and no bending of the guidelines in dealing with school desegregation in the South. He made the comment in briefing the teams he's sending to 5 school districts whose federal aid he suspended earlier this week. He told the teams to be open-minded in dealing with local educators during the 60-day periods they have to develop desegregation plans in order to comply with federal aid requirements. Up the Southern California coast, north of Los Angeles, a huge oil slick in the Pacific is threatening beaches and wildlife, and Jed Duval reports from Santa Barbara.
The oil began leaking from the ocean bottom Tuesday when workers at a rig 5 miles offshore attempted to recover a drill bit in the well and punched a hole. 21,000 gallons have bubbled to the surface each day since. The Coast Guard says the flow now seems to be slowing. The company, Union Oil of California, and specialists sent by Interior Secretary Walter Hickel are trying to figure out how to cap the well 190 feet below the surface of the water. Meantime, a huge slick, at least 12 miles long, floats in the Santa Barbara Channel, gradually spreading, poised to slop onto the coast at the whim of the tides. It has touched the shore in some places, showing up as a thin slime. Some of the debris from last week's storm has been heavily coated, compounding the mess on usually white, attractive beaches. The birds, seagulls and grebes mostly, were not affected in large numbers, but those that swam in the goo came out black, stumbling, their wings clotted, unable to fly. Trying to clean their feathers, many are swallowing oil and dying. Also threatened, besides the smaller forms of life, are gray whales, who are migrating through the channel at this time of year. Governor Ronald Reagan has asked the federal government to establish a money reserve to fight oil pollution on the coastline. Meantime, there is no saying when the oil will stop flowing or what will happen to that which already coats the water. Jed Duval, CBS News, Santa Barbara.
A pet 100-pound cheetah leaped from a yacht docked in Miami Beach today. It chased the dock manager, scratched and bit, not too seriously apparently, a passing 9-year-old boy, chased a motorcycle patrolman, and finally was brought down by shots from another policeman.
Ah, the coming of winter. Brisk mornings, new fallen snow, sleigh rides, shoveling driveways, and digging out cars. Cold, wet, miserable winter. Chills and aches and colds. Oh, I wish it was warm.
When winter aches and pain start snowing you under, rub in the deep down relief of Bengay. Warmth is relief, and Bengay is warmth. And relax, it'll be spring soon.
We're at the world-famous high karate assembly line, where skilled craftsmen are turning popular high karate aftershave into new high karate Oriental Lime. All the awesome power of regular high karate, with a fresh lime scent added, plus indispensable instructions on self-defense. New high karate Oriental Lime, aftershave and cologne. High karate. Be careful how you use it.
In his anti-crime program today, President Nixon ordered federal narcotics agents to significantly increase their role in law enforcement in the Capitol. And a Washington official disclosed that 2/3 of all men convicted of crime there and 95% of all women are drug addicts. But narcotics is only part of the district's crime problem, as we see in John Hart's film report.
Bad hours are any time after dark.
Very seldom do go out after dark, Josh. I mean, you know.
It ain't the grown people that's doing all these crimes. It's the kids, because they don't have nothing to do.
13, 14, 15-year-old kids with pistols.
They've had a couple of, rape incidents right in this section here, right near this community.
It's a terrible thing when no one can walk the streets.
These are the same streets the president walked today. But it is a different city. The difference simply is between night and day. It is better to be anywhere else in Washington than here in the 10th precinct after dark. But anywhere else is getting more dangerous, too. Small businessmen are taking to every possible protection. Cliff Carter's liquor store is something of an armed fortress. Windows heavily barred outside and inside, guns at the ready. Peepholes behind the liquor bottles, Carter himself in ambush behind one-way glass, every clerk packing a gun. There is reason for all this. Last year, armed robberies doubled over the year before, and 1969 started out nearly doubling last year's rate. Common holdups are increasing also, now 20 a day. Cliff Carter believes his precautions are necessary.
Yeah, it's bad, but it's for protection. See, this store, the way I feel about this store here, I have all my family in here. The guys out there, my cousins, my wife is in here, and we all kin. I don't want to see anybody in my family get hurt. And you got to protect yourself.
When bus drivers started making change with scrip instead of cash, violent bus holdups stopped. Delivery drivers put money in strong boxes they cannot open and advertise it. Marshall Rollins stopped holdups at his liquor store when he installed Big Brother cameras and advertised it. In 1967, there were 29 bank robberies. There were 17 this month. These pictures taken by automatic cameras. Here, a girl robber leaping over a counter. As the crime hours come on in the District of Columbia, the exodus begins to the white ghettos of suburban Maryland and Virginia. Now, Washington is 70% Negro. So while the most noticeable criminal is a teenager and black, his victim is most often a ghetto dweller and black.
What do you think about that,
Some fight back. Troyce's Corner Recreation Center is a pool table in a laundry room with soul food on the side, and seminars on what to live for and how every Wednesday. Here again, the contest between generations, which both sides seem to be losing. Police say illegal drug use is up. This week's seminar indicates the connection between shooting narcotics and guns.
What is the best thing for you? Is it shooting drugs in your arm, blowing somebody? You think a life is worth taking a life?
Yeah.
To get a pill?
Yeah.
You do?
You did. You have to take it.
Really? You gotta take somebody's life to get high, huh?
No. You're right. You need that.
You really do.
Like
How would you like for me to take your life to get a shot?
You're gonna get it.
How would you like for me to take your life to get a shot in my arm?
If you need,
now put yourself in that position.
If I'm gonna take that needle, I'm gonna take your life and you'll give me that dope.
Suppose I take yours.
Well, that'll be one left on, you know.
But what about it? Suppose I take yours. You got a one-sided way of thinking. Suppose I take yours. Come on, you holding up the game, no, Jan.
The big argument among lawmen is over something called preventive detention. Courts are so deluged that delay between arrest and trial is so long that a substantial number of crimes are committed by people on bail. Chief Judge Harold Green of the General Sessions Court says the answer is more judges and faster justice.
The main obvious solution to our problem of crime by people awaiting trial is to speed up the trials. Right now in the District of Columbia and Washington and in many other cities, it takes 8 months to a year or more to bring a person to trial. Obviously, if a person is out for a year, a person who does have a criminal record and perhaps has a tendency to commit crimes, it gives them an opportunity to commit many crimes.
Washington's Crime Commission found the district was the most policed city in ratio of policemen to citizens. Recruitment is difficult and the department is under strength. Computers have been added and police cadets are releasing patrolmen from administrative duties. Mayor Walter Washington is really a commissioner appointed by the president. He says crime in the capital is not all that it seems.
So I don't think that this city is any different than other cities, except that here you can let two bumpers hit and it'll ring around the world. And the attention that's focused here is far greater than perhaps any place in the world. And the matter of violent crime here, I don't believe, although it's on the increase, and certainly we admit this, is out of proportion to the general problem of crime elsewhere.
We have not even mentioned organized crime. It is not the really big criminals people are afraid of nowadays. In this federal city, it is the smooth-faced teenagers who slug and mug and hold up. To hear them tell it, there is a simple reason for being a criminal. The reason is money. The Columbia Heights Association is a bootstrapped ghetto group seeking jobs for teenagers tempted by crime. At this meeting, two of them, their backs to the camera, admitted to yielding. Their specialty, mugging.
The reason that I go out and rob, see, the clothes, you know, you got to have clothes to wear, you know. Your mother, you know, she worked like me. I live with my mother, see. She working all hard and got to pay the rent. See, I can't, you know, get no clothes by asking her for money. And I'm not going to walk around here wearing the same thing every day, because I want clothes just like everybody else on the street got clothes. So I go out, give me a couple of hustles, you know, going downtown and buy what I want.
Would it bother you if somebody hit you and took your $100?
Well, I feel like this, you know. They robbed me. I ain't got no business on the street after 8 o'clock no way.
Bill Kavanaugh is straight, and his brother's a policeman, but some of his best friends are thieves.
And it's not people don't want to work. That's the biggest lie I ever heard. People want, Negroes, I hate that word, black people want to work. But the trouble is, none of us want to work on a bull job with no future, no chance of promotion, you know. So what's left to do?
How much money would buy you out of crime?
I'm not gonna, it's not that much. I say about $2 an hour buy me out of crime. Yeah, $2 an hour. That's cheap.
A limited answer, perhaps. For someone else, $2 an hour will not support a habit. The police contend the high crime zones cover a fraction of the city. There are many areas, such as Georgetown, where night commerce goes on fearlessly. Contrary to a recent advertising campaign, Washington, D.C. is not the crime capital of the country. Murder is twice as frequent in Houston, the rate of rape twice as high in greater Los Angeles. Your chances of being robbed or assaulted twice as bad in Baltimore. But it is the capital of the country, and like preachers' kids and other symbols, we require it to do better than average. And so the urgency here is to seek safety in the enforcement of law on criminals, while yearning for the security that comes only in their consent to it. John Hart, CBS News, Washington.
And that's the way it is. Friday, January 31st, 1969. This is Walter Cronkite, CBS News. Good night.
A fine day to be snug inside. And a fine time to discover the wonderfully smooth, rich, and mellow flavor of Coffee with Coffee Mate, the non-dairy coffee creaming discovery from Carnation. Coffee Mate needs no refrigeration. Only 11 calories in a level teaspoon. Try Coffee Mate yourself. It makes coffee taste smoother, richer, mellower.
Watch as we prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that cats prefer Friskies canned cat food. Friskies chicken, Friskies liver, Friskies fish. Hey, fellas, you're passing the bowls. Oh, well, even Friskies can't compete with Mother, but give them time. They'll prefer Friskies just as Mom does now. Friskies chicken, Friskies liver, Friskies fish. Every cat's 3 favorite flavors. Friskies chicken, Friskies liver, Friskies fish, Friskies chicken, Friskies liver.
Direct from our newsroom in New York, in color, this has been the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite. Soupy sales with the Harlem Globetrotters doing their